Hi, and welcome back to this free-for-all Friday edition of Focal Point, AFR Talk, 888-589-8840. Rob, let's grab clip number one. These are sound bites from yesterday before the vote was taken today. But here is President Obama basically calling out anybody who will tell the truth about Obamacare. What they are counting on, people, is they're counting on fooling us. They're counting on telling us things. I'm not going to say they're outright lying, but I think they are because they know better. They know that what they're saying is not true. They know that they're bald-faced untruths. Now, if you tell something that's not true and you know it's untrue, that's a lie, and that makes you a liar. So I think that's what's going on here. Both Barack Obama and Jay Carney, they are trying to convince the American people, trying to get the American people to believe things that are manifestly untrue, and they're going to go after anybody who gets in their way. Anybody who tells the truth becomes their enemy and their target. Let's listen.
That's when America's at its best. That's what this country's all about. But we need you to spread the word. But you don't have to take my word for it. If you talk to somebody who said, well, I don't know, I was watching Fox News and they said this is horrible. And you can say, you know what? Don't take my word for it. Go on the website. See for yourself what the prices are. See for yourself what the choices are. Then make up your own mind. That's all I'm asking. Make up your own mind. I promise you, if you go on the website and it turns out you're going to save $100, $200, $300 a month on your insurance, or you'll be able to buy insurance for the first time, even if you didn't vote for me, I'll bet you'll sign up for that health care plan.
So that's Barack Obama. Let's grab clip number 3, and I'll respond to these, and we'll take some phone calls. This is President Obama, and again, and Jay Carney's repeating the same kind of mantra. This is simply untrue, and I think President Obama knows this is untrue. Therefore, that makes what you're about to hear a lie from the President of the United States. And realize when he tells lies like this, he does not just diminish himself. He does not just diminish his own stature. He diminishes the stature of the office of the presidency. Let's listen.
And I guarantee you, the opponents of the law, they'll have their cameras ready to document anything that doesn't go completely right. And they'll send it to the news folks, and they'll say, look at this thing's not working. But most of the stories you'll hear about how Obamacare just can't work is just not based on facts. Every time they have predicted something not working, it's worked.
What is he talking about? What is he talking about?
I mean, they said that these rates would come in real high and everybody's premiums would be sky high, and it turns out, lo and behold, actually, the prices came in lower than we expected, lower than I predicted. That's how well competition and choice work. They said this would be a disaster in terms of jobs. There's no widespread evidence that the Affordable Care Act is hurting jobs. What one of John McCain's former economic advisors admitted just this week, and I'm quoting here, I was expecting to see it. I was looking for it, but it's not there.
And again, what I want you to observe is the sleight of hand employed by President Obama here. They said, look, prices came in, and this is the same thing they did in the press release. We exploded this week. Prices, the opponents of Obamacare, President Obama said these rates would come in real high and everybody's premiums would be sky high. Well, that's exactly what has happened. That's exactly what has happened. We went over the stories yesterday from one state after another where premiums are going up. And Avik Roy from the Manhattan Institute, he looked at insurance premiums all over the nation, and he said for the average male, or for males, the average insurance premium is going to be 99%. They're going to be paying twice this year in 2014. They're going to be paying twice what they paid in 2013. For women, it's up 62%. This is across the board. That's sky high, ladies and gentlemen. And we found out yesterday also that doesn't include increased out-of-pocket expenses, higher copays, and higher deductibles. So people are going to get drilled every which way. And notice Obama says they came in lower than we expected. Not lower than what you can get today, not lower than what's available today on the market, but lower than we expected them to be, lower than I predicted. And again, this is an absolutely meaningless number. The only number that counts is how much is your insurance going to cost under Obama compared to what it will cost you today. And Avik Roy has the answer. 99% up for men on average, 62% for women. And then he says the opponents say it'd be a disaster in terms of jobs, and it just hasn't been the case. Let me give you some examples here. Looking at a piece from Fox News, union leaders have been telling the White House and Democratic lawmakers for months that Obamacare is bad for jobs. The head of the Teamsters and other unions argued that perverse incentives in Obamacare are hurting jobs. Unless the law is changed, the union leaders wrote, these are some of the biggest supporters of Obamacare. Remember, they're out there beating up the guy at that town hall meeting that had the Gadsden flag. He's in a wheelchair, and these union people are beating him up because he's there to protest Obamacare. Now, these union people, same people, in fact, you got SEI union members on strike today. They're on strike, I think it's in Ohio, because they're losing their insurance and their hours are being cut. So the union leaders saying to Obama, unless the law is changed, the ACA, which I refer to now as the Abominable Care Act, it's not the Affordable Care Act, nothing affordable about it. This is the ACA, the Abominable Care Act, will shatter not only our hard-earned health benefits, but destroy the foundation of the 40-hour work week that is the backbone of the American middle class. That is the union speaking. Numerous employers have already begun to cut workers' hours to avoid this obligation. Many of them are doing so openly, the union leaders wrote. And yet Obama's out there saying, hey, there's no evidence that this is hurting jobs. Investors Business Daily has compiled a list of more than 300 employers that have cut worker hours or staffing levels, many as recently as this month. Among them was SeaWorld in Florida, cutting back part-time hours from 32 to 28 per week. Now, this includes, by the way, a hit on Big Bird. There is a amusement park somewhere, got the story here, amusement park in Pennsylvania. And remember, the media back in the campaign said, hey, Mitt Romney wants to kill Big Bird. Well, it turns out it's not Obama killing Big Bird. It's Obamacare. It's Obama killing Big Bird, not Romney killing Big Bird. It's Obama killing Big Bird. One of the Keystone State's biggest tourist attractions is Sesame Place, a Sesame Street-themed amusement park just northeast of Philadelphia. Sesame Place employs about 1,650 people, both full and part-time, and brings in upwards of $75 million in economic activity to Pennsylvania's Bucks County. However, Sesame Place parent company SeaWorld has announced that it will cut hours for part-time employees, likely to keep them under the 30-hour threshold set down in Obama's healthcare law. SeaWorld will also cease offering company-based healthcare plans for part-time workers. So they lose hours, they lose income, and they lose healthcare. And President Obama's out there saying, hey, there's no evidence that this is hurting jobs. Well, let's go to the phones. Let's begin with Ashley in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Ashley, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. I just wanted to let you know I absolutely love your show, and I've been an avid listener since the day we got you here in Oklahoma.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very humbled to hear that. Thank you.
Listen, I wanted to let you know that we called my family, my entire family and I, spent our day the last couple days calling Senator Coburn's office because we heard that he was not going to vote with Ted Cruz. He was going to vote against or with the culture or whatever it was. Anyway, so I called his offices, and we had some trouble getting through. But when we finally got through to the staff, they assured us that, no, he was going to vote with Ted Cruz on the cloture thing, and that we didn't have to worry. Well, then this morning, of course, it turns out that he did not. And if you go into his Facebook page, which is where his staff told me today, who were borderline snide with me about the whole event, even though I tried to be as polite as possible to tell them how we stood, Anyway, she said I should just go to Facebook and read it there. So everything I can read on Facebook is basically kind of a deflecting thing about the budget and how it wouldn't have worked because it's still being funded by so much, and this would have never panned out anyway. So there was no point in voting to no on the cloture vote, and it was pointless. Even though Senator Inhofe, also from the great state of Oklahoma, voted with Ted Cruz, and he was one of those 19 that you named.
Yes, that's correct.
So anyway, they were just rude, and naturally.
Well, and I'll tell you, Ashley, they're not happy to hear from us. They do. This is an amazing thing to me. They've heard from their constituents more on this issue than probably any other issue that's come up in the last 3 or 4 years.
Oh, yeah. That's all that's on his Facebook page. It's
Yeah.
people like me commenting on it.
That's an amazing thing to me that they're completely hosing off their own constituents. I don't care what you think. I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm not here to represent you. I'm here to do my own thing, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of amazing to me, and they're getting very short and impatient with their own constituents. Ted Cruz was talking about that. Legislators complaining, this is amazing to me, complaining that they are hearing from so many of their constituents. I say, Ashley, crime eminently, that's your job. Mm-hmm. That's your job to listen to your constituents and to represent them. If it's a burden for you to get communication from your constituents, you are in the wrong line of work.
Exactly. Go wash cars or something.
Yeah. All right, Ashley. Well, listen, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. And I'm sure Ashley's story, not the only one. And we'll take more calls on the other side of the break. Maybe you had an opportunity to talk to your representative. And we don't know. I mean, we honestly can say we don't know what would happen if these senators had voted to represent their constituents. If these senators that voted with Harry Reid had instead voted with Ted Cruz and prevented cloture from happening, I don't know what would happen. I don't know if anybody knows what would happen because it would stop the funding bill dead in its tracks. It would be dead. It would be DOA in the Senate. It couldn't go anywhere. Nothing could happen to it. It would be frozen. It would be on ice. And I don't know what would happen in a case like that. Nobody knows. But the one thing we do know is it would have stopped funding for Obamacare. Would have stopped it in its tracks. Republicans let us down, didn't vote with Ted Cruz. Focal Point and for Talk back in 2.